first official meeting at the helm, and I have to, first of all, remind everybody what a terrific year Eric led us through in a particularly challenging time. Congratulations to everything he accomplished for us. Thanks, Eric, for your leadership and everything that you accomplished. We accomplished thanks to your leadership. There were two events this past weekend. One was the Hilly 100 that I've been participating in since 1979. That makes about 40 years, with only 2 days, as I can remember, of rain. The only disappointing aspect of the Hilly this year was the cancellation of the traditional chicken dinner with all the trimmings. And that was brutal. You had to eat your own hot sandwich that you packed into your fanny pack. So that was the only disappointment, but otherwise it was beautiful weather, a little bit too hot for me, close to 90. It was 88 on both days, but otherwise the Hilly was just beautiful. So there was another big event. Who was it in our membership that accomplished the challenging Boston Marathon? I remember that someone did that and needs a huge congratulations. That's a major physical challenge.
Trina.
Who was that?
Trina.
I did Chicago, but a lot of my training partners did Boston.
Oh, Trina.
So it was a big weekend.
Wow. That's a huge event.
Thank you.
Let's see, a few announcements. First of all, there are some of our Kiwanians who are celebrating anniversaries. Lamita Steele has finished her first year. Andy Marshall, past president, 32 years, and the winner, Mark Varno, 41 years, as part of our wonderful club. Thanks to all of those who have already submitted their payment for dues. Member dues, as we all know, are in a large part responsible for allowing us to engage in some of the wonderful activities that our club is responsible for and that benefit our community. So encouragement to all those who have not had time to do that. Since the Abe Lincoln program was created in 1976, I understand that $1.1 million has been awarded to 176 students. And putting our own daily issues into perspective is what happens when we leave that wonderful event. It's just heartwarming, and it allows us to put our own complaints and daily issues into a much better perspective. If you would like to be involved in the Abe Lincoln program, reach out to co-chair Wendy Paddock and mark February 11th on your calendar for this year's Abe Lincoln. Karen Burns is inviting all of us to ring the bells for the Salvation Army. Register for a 1-hour shift, bring a friend, partner with another Kiwanian. We are setting up at the Kroger on 71st in Benford this year on Fridays from 3 to 7 p.m. on December 3rd, December 10, and December 17. Personally, and I'm sure all of us feel the same, I can't imagine going through the Christmas holidays without hearing somewhere at some store that bell. It always sounds the same, and it's just such a part of the Christmas spirit and holiday. So come out and help ring the bell for the Salvation Army. Trina, I'd like to invite you to introduce the artistic director of the Heartland Film Festival, Mr. Greg Sorvig. Over the years, the Heartland Film Festival, I understand, has awarded $3.5 million in cash prizes, the largest total amount awarded by any film festival in North America. Awards have been presented to more than 200 studio films and more than 2,000 feature and short films, including 8 Oscar-winning titles. Trina?
You took the words right out of my mouth, literally. I do think we're still waiting on Greg to join us today.
Okay.
Unless I don't see him on the line. So if you guys are open to it, I'm just going to pause the recording. We'll give him a few minutes to catch up with us. They're in the middle of the festival. I think they're halfway through. So they may be running in all sorts of directions. But I'll pause the recording. We can chit chat amongst ourselves. And then when he's able to join us, we can resume that.
Hey,
Perfect. So as Carol mentioned earlier, over the years, I believe 30 years now, Heartland Film Festival has awarded $3.5 million in cash prizes, the largest total amount awarded by any film festival in North America. It's presented to 200 plus studio films with a truly moving picture award and more than 2,000 feature and short films, including 8 Oscar-winning titles that have been showcased. I remember in your early days of the festival, it was this, small opportunity that we could kind of feel like we were experiencing something that large cities did, and now you are rivaling the best of them. So, Greg, without further ado, the stage is yours.
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, again, my name is Greg Sorvig. We've been around for 30 years at Heartland. So when I was 8 years old, I came home from school and I thought, let's start a film festival. So no, I'm in my late 30s. I've been with Heartland for 10 years now, which has been a great opportunity. But it was founded 30 years ago as an organization in 1991, and the first festival was in 1992. So really a festival that supports like the best of the human spirit, films that can make an impact, and was founded by Jeff Sparks. And then he was our founder and our president up until about 2012. And then since then, we've had a couple different leaders since then, including Michael Alt, who is our new president too. So yeah, we started with about 20 movies in Indianapolis, and we did showcase a retrospective screening of West Side Story. And we gave Robert Wise, the director, a Lifetime Achievement Award. So fast forward 30 years, we're playing that film again tonight down at the Historic Art Craft Theater on 35 millimeter film. So that's very exciting. So we do that, but my role is artistic director. So essentially I'm the movie man, if you will. So I work with big studios to lock in movies to show. So beyond these independent films, I'll kind of talk briefly about the difference, but basically we become an Oscar stop. Oscar season really starts with the Venice Film Festival. It starts with Toronto, Telluride in New York. And then there's so many festivals in October. So I work with the studios directly, go to other festivals, and we lock in these huge Oscar contending films to show. So that really brings the people in. It gets the headlines. You might have heard this year, we have King Richard starring Will Smith. We have Joaquin Phoenix in the film Come On, Come On. Wes Anderson's French Dispatch, which has Bill Murray, Frances McDormand, Benicio del Toro, a lot of big names too. Spencer starring Kristen Stewart. A lot of big movies, but the lion's share of what we showcase and what we do are independent films that are hoping to make it to that point, that are hoping to get distribution. But really the film festivals are like their theatrical run. So basically films can submit from all over the world to our submission platform. We have pre-screeners. If anybody here is a movie fan, you can become a volunteer and actually pre-screen watch movies. I started doing that as a volunteer. It sounds very fun and romantic, but you're not watching all the good movies. You're watching all of the movies. So it's one thing to like movies. It's another thing to verbalize why you like it, why they're good or bad, and to give it a numeric score as well too. So we have about 70, 80 pre-screeners who watch films, and it goes through that point, and we look at genres, countries, different perspectives and stories. And that's how we kind of come together and create the entire lineup. So this year we have over 143 feature films from all over the world. And yeah, last year we didn't quite know what was going to happen. The pandemic hit and some festivals had to cancel flat out. But I guess silver lining for us, a lot of the big festivals like South by Southwest down in Austin, Texas, our friends at Cleveland, they're in March and April, so they had to flat out cancel. We have our short film festival called Indy Shorts in July. And then we have Heartland International, which is going on now in October. So we were afforded some time to adjust and pivot. So we were at the Tibbs Drive-In for 17 screenings last year. And then additionally, we had like virtual. So we had, about 70 films available virtually that people could watch. So this year, we were very hopeful, very optimistic, but we are back with in-person films. In years past, we would have about 400 screenings all around Indianapolis. This year, we have about 160, so we're a little bit more conservative with what the demand might be. But then we also have virtual screenings of more than 80 films available online too at heartlandfilmfestival.org. And it's neat, you can go on our site, you can see the in-person schedule, you can see the virtual schedule as well. And virtual is just kind of like a Netflix where you buy a ticket, you can watch it at your leisure at any time. And once you click watch, you have 3 days, 72 hours to watch the film. So it's very easy. Then after you watch the film as well, you give it an audience choice score. And there's an award at the end of the festival just based on your reviews, your scores. Those films can win, and that helps films get attention and distribution. But as mentioned, we've given a lot of money in cash prizes. This year, we'll give over $60,000. We have grand prizes, the films that are, we get jury members in, so film distributors, directors, academics, and they, I help program the films, and they have the burden of picking like the favorite of my children, if you will. So they do that. But Sheila Nevins, who is an amazing executive that was with HBO documentaries for years. She's an Emmy Award winner, Golden Globe Award winner. She became a jury member and friend a couple years ago. So they picked up a film called 76 Days out of the festival last year when she was a jury member, and she's back again this year as well. So yeah, we have big names that come through Indianapolis as well. We keep growing. Robert Downey Jr. was here, I think 6 years ago now, which was phenomenal. But this year, it's a little bit different since we don't have as many of the big names coming to town, but we still have over 100 filmmakers from around the world. We even had, even with the travel restrictions, we had 2 filmmakers from UK that came over. So it's just really dependent and stuff too, but we didn't know. We were like, hopefully we'll have in-person screenings. People will come back. We are seeing that. People were very excited, but people are also still, we underestimated how popular virtual would still be. So again, if you're not ready to come out, you still have to wear a mask within the theaters and stuff too. But yeah, Indianapolis has changed dynamically too in terms of the theater landscape. So we used to be the Northeast, Northwest side at AMC locations and Newfields. We're back at Newfields, but there are 2 brand new theaters that have opened downtown, one on Mass Ave in the Bottle Works district. If you haven't been to Bottle Works, it's phenomenal, and it's open during the pandemic, but it's really flourished. But it's the old Coca-Cola plant on the east side of Mass Ave. And so they still have the neat decor. You can see the Coca-Cola logo up on the walls, but they have a place called the Garage, which is kind of like a food court. Doesn't do it justice, but there's different shops. In addition to like an oyster bar, there's different bars, a Brazilian restaurant and stuff too. But a great open air area that used to be like where the delivery trucks used to be for the plant. There's a beautiful Art Deco hotel called the Bottle Works Hotel. Pinball, which has been our hangout with filmmakers every night. There's duck pin bowling. There's pinball machines. There's ping pong. So it's a really neat spot too. But that's part of what makes a festival a festival. It's not just showing movies, but it's a way for filmmakers and audiences to come together and socialize. So the launch of the Bottle Works has been fantastic. And we've seen that community grow and be really excited here too. So we're at Living Room Theaters, which is right there at Bottle Works. And then half a mile away in Windsor Park is the Can Cinema and Brasserie. So the restaurant tours behind Bluebeard. They have a restaurant in this location with 4 different theater screens. And they just opened up as well during the pandemic. So 2 great art house locations, Newfields, and we're also down at the Historic Art Craft Theater down in Franklin. So that's kind of the overview of this year too. And in terms of films, we have something for everybody, whether it's kind of a feel-good film that when you walk in, even though you can probably predict the ending, it's still a great journey. We have horror films, so we've definitely expanded from the early days. So if you like scary movies, we have some of that. We have an Indiana Spotlight category. So Indiana, we're one of 17 states with no tax incentives, meaning people can't just come to the state and get either like a rebate or a percentage for making a film. And I think for years we were landlocked, so that was kind of a detriment to us. But we have an award for Indiana filmmakers. That way we can still support filmmaking within the state, honor cash prizes, and give them a platform through the festival as well too. So you might have heard about a film called The Addict's Wake, which is about the opioid crisis in Brown County that basically sold out the Toby the other night. So it's great. And you can tell that movies bring people together, bring communities together. So there are buses of people coming in from Brown County. And that's really what we do. We try to connect the filmmakers with the audiences and have a celebration for these films that hopefully impact you and do more than just entertain. So that's kind of the main overview. And if at any point, if anybody wants to ask questions, feel free to go ahead because it's a lot to take in. But yeah, we've definitely grown. We used to have maybe 3 or 4 event films. We have 14, meaning huge studio films working with like Amazon, Netflix, 20th Century Studios as well. And we work with community groups as well. So like Kiwanis or other community groups, we can offer you group discount tickets, exclusive screenings, and that kind of stuff too. But yeah, a lot of great films that align with your mission as well. And yeah, you can go to heartlandfilmfestival.org to kind of check everything out.
Have you found a difference with small independent films versus those that are coming through the studio, either your experience working to bring them here or with the product in general or the work in general?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of moving parts with the studios, a lot of competition. There's, I think October is probably the most populous month in terms of film festivals on the circuit. So we have these huge movies and then we're kind of competing to see if talent can come as well. Sometimes they have exclusive premieres. When it comes to independent films, you know, we have premieres as well. So we have 20 films that are making their US and world premieres at Heartland. And it's just very special for them to see their film on the big screen. Some films have waited over a year to even show because they want to see it on the big screen. But it's really refreshing and it's almost, I would say more worth it, but it's more rewarding to work with these filmmakers who are so excited when you accept their films and to come and see it on a big screen with audiences, because the big studios usually have big budgets to make films. So you're looking at something very polished. Not saying you don't get that within the independent level as well, but some phenomenal movies are being made with a very shoestring budget, smaller teams. And the films obviously might not ever get a huge release, but with streaming now too and all these different platforms, we're excited to give them the opportunity to kind of show as well too. And over the years, I think a lot of films, smaller films, we have been renowned for playing great content, curating a good program. So people have been essentially recruited by other film festivals, like, oh, you were at Heartland, you premiered at Heartland, or you got this award, and they almost get invites as well. So that's what we like to see. That's the ultimate goal for film festivals, to connect with audiences, to give filmmakers an opportunity and promote them to hopefully play more festivals, maybe get distribution as well. But the world of distribution, I mean, you have the big things, like I said, like Disney, Fox, Universal, but then you have kind of mid-tier distributors and even now streaming platforms. Films can still get a deal, but it's maybe not the huge distributors that you know about. And a lot of these art house cinemas, kind of like the Can, play content that's more on the art house circuit. So it's not just like the big Venom movie or Marvel movie or Fast and Furious or something like that too. So yeah, I think that's kind of the difference, but it's yeah, it's a lot easier to work with just the independent filmmakers when it's just the director and they're very excited too. But yeah, it's a great mix. But there are people, we're seeing that this year, people who we have these gigantic films and maybe they haven't been to a festival, they haven't heard about it. And through the magic now of having all this, virtual tracking and everything too, it's really easy to see if anybody's a first-time ticket buyer. So we've seen a lot of first-time ticket buyers for the big films. That's what we kind of say, like those are kind of the main draws. And hopefully there's like a trickle-down effect to these independent films that people haven't heard of. But we advertise on the website as well that if a filmmaker is coming, and we've seen that usually there's like a 10 to 30% attendance bump in films that have a filmmaker coming as well. And other festivals, like the big festivals with the filmmakers in town, you might catch a glimpse of them. You might see them on stage. But here, I mean, you get pretty much approach the filmmakers, strike up a conversation. We've had people take filmmakers out to dinner, buy them a drink afterward, get photos. So you really do get a great connection. And that's what kind of separates like a regional film festival like us from an industry festival where it's just all people. Imagine like like a stock sales floor, but for a film festival, you know, people buying and selling films and that kind of stuff too. We have more. We've been known for our Hoosier hospitality, which all of you have with Kiwanis as well. But people have a good time here, and they feel like they can really make true connections with fellow filmmakers and the audiences, and have good FaceTime, even with staff members. I've been hearing that this week, even through the pandemic, that, oh, I've been to festivals and we don't have access to people like you, or the programmers or the team members and stuff too. So yeah, I think that's what's great too. And I think that's the biggest thing I was worried about, just with budgets being cut for travel, that hopefully people would come and still have a good time. But we're still getting that feedback after 30 years, despite the pandemic, that people appreciate the venues, they appreciate the volunteers, the attendees, and they're still having a good time.
Thank you. I love that you touched on the Hoosier hospitality. Like that has to change the vibe of the festival. We have a question from Roger in the chat. Are there any Indiana or Indianapolis movie production firms operating locally? There's some great talent here.
Yeah, I don't want to say moonlighting, but it's like people do passion projects that are like film festivals. You know, we don't play like commercials or music videos or things like that. A lot of people who have a passion for filmmaking within the state do things commercially. So they'll have clients, private clients to do things, and they'll make kind of creative things on the side. So kind of a neat thing this year, Think Ahead Studios downtown, they did our bumper for us, or our preview. So they did this neat thing where it's kids in a video store, and they kind of go through the different decades, and then they watch films at home as well. But we've had filmmakers from their group make films and make it as well. Pegasus Pictures, so think of a Pegasus, the winged horse, but a pig, out of Bloomington, Indiana. They've actually made huge films with big stars like Judith Light that have premiered at South by Southwest in different festivals, and they're finding a way to make it work here. And just like any kind of capital venture, when you're making a film, getting funding, it's kind of like who you know, what kind of investors you have. But I think they've even gotten creative through like economic development, EDFC, looking through grants that way. So there are a lot of people who are making things commercially here, who also make kind of their passion projects that get submitted onto the festival market too. Then we see a lot of people who go out to LA or New York, but a lot of people do come back as well. I have a producer friend who graduated from IU, and he moved back because he wanted to raise his family. And especially through the pandemic, you can do a lot of things virtually and fly to the coast if need be. So I think there's room to grow, and I'm really optimistic. I think there is a possibility for tax incentives throughout the years. I know Governor Holcomb has been a lot more involved with our festival. If you come to any of the events in the pre-show, he's done a great recorded video for us too. So yeah, there are companies throughout the state that are still doing things as well too. And we have like a film called Mayberry Man this year, which you maybe have heard of through the Indy Star and a lot of coverage. So part of that's filmed in Indiana. And it's about an actor who is forced to go to like a Mayberry Andy Griffith convention and kind of go from there too. So part of that was filmed in Danville, where they have the Mayberry Cafe too. So yeah, it's a great celebration. So when people make these films, you have a great local premiere as well too. And we love being that celebration to show a film too. Instead of just renting out a theater at some random point of time in the year, you get great crowds and a great celebration on the big screen and the red carpet treatment.
Others, feel free to chime in with questions. You can take yourselves off mute or you can drop in the chat. But Greg, while we're waiting for others, a personal question for you, if you don't mind. What inspired you to make the film world your career, your world?
Yeah, I basically always loved movies as a kid. Rented VHS tapes, so I'm kind of in between that analog to digital childhood to now and stuff too. And I think everyone loves movies. I think that's what's very inspiring. I think everyone at some point in time, like, oh, I'd love to be in a movie. I love to write a movie, direct a movie. But how do you know? How does that possible? How do you get to that point? So I moved all over growing up, but I moved to Indiana middle of my senior year of high school. Had no intention of staying in the state. Was a late applicant to IU and did their communication and culture, essentially film studies program, not really knowing what I would make out of it or anything too. So I wrote a really bad screenplay. I think if you start writing, usually it's a really bad coming of age story. So I got that out of my system. I did some 16 millimeter work at IU as well. But I didn't know what I didn't have a focus enough to really become a filmmaker or anything like that. But graduated from there, interned at Disney as well for a little bit down in Florida. Worked at the Great Movie Ride, which was kind of foreshadowing down at Walt Disney World. And then, I became involved as a volunteer. So like I said before, anybody here could volunteer, potentially screen films. It's a lot of work. And I became a volunteer with Heartland and was doing marketing for them. I was doing blog posts, started reviewing movies. And that's how you can really become involved. You just show your passion, again, like any nonprofit, really. Show your passion, you want to become involved, and that turned into a career. So that was very exciting. I joined Heartland as the marketing director. We rebranded back in 2014. And then when our artistic director quit at our 25th anniversary, I stepped in because I had that passion and I'd been watching films. So we'd bounce ideas off of each other all the time. So it was a natural fit to kind of jump in. And then from that point, I've expanded and I get invited to a lot of jury opportunities. I watch films for different festivals. I've been a panelist with the National Endowment for the Arts, looking at some of their grant funding as well. And I'll be doing that again. I can't talk about a lot of it publicly, but they have another initiative now that I'll be looking at applications and stuff for later this month. And just kind of go from there. And I travel the world to these different film festivals. I wish I had a USB drive or something in my head so I could just download all the films, but I can't see everything. So I consider myself like a master prospector, and I have all these people, panning for gold down the stream, and I have my programmers. But if I can go to festivals or I can get eyes on things myself, it's like finding those nuggets myself and kind of, going into the mine. So that's a lot of fun. So, but it's been good. And we didn't do that over the years. We didn't go to a lot of different film festivals. I think we expected people just to come to us, but I think by us sharing our story, going out to all these different major film festivals. I also work with the Tribeca Film Festival as an associate programmer, which is not unusual. I think that just shows your worth as a programmer and that you know what you're doing. And I think that's actually helped, been an olive branch, I guess, both ways for different films and programs and stuff too. But yeah, it really shows, like you mentioned, that we have something special here in Indianapolis. So we do have these top tier films that come in. The studios recognize us. We're not a big film city, even though I think, we're in the top, 15 cities. I think we got eclipsed by Austin a couple of years ago in terms of population size. We're ranked like 30 to 35 in terms of like movie markets. So we're trying to expand that, move that up as well. And as you mentioned, we have an award we give to films throughout the year called the Truly Moving Picture Award. So we try to have these touches with the studios and show them that, hey, that Indiana, we do have a great base of movie lovers, people who love to be involved, and you should be paying attention to. So I know we try to work with the Indiana Film Journalists Association. We partnered with Visit Indy, who still has like a film commission as well to help promote production here in the city. Then there's Visit Indiana as well, which is part of the state. Amy Howell is the head of that, and they kind of help people with resources if they want to find locations or anything like that. So it's not like we're not doing anything here. We're doing a lot, and I think we've, in my position, tried to be a bridge builder and bring all these groups together kind of on a united front. So that's been very exciting. And I know we continue to grow. This is our biggest lineup we've had in 30 years. And I think there's still a lot to be done, but I'm very excited and hopeful about what we've accomplished in 30 years as an organization, in the past 10 years since I've been around too. So yeah, that's very exciting.
You guys do a tremendous amount. So Duke asked what potentially might be the hardest question of the day. What is your favorite film of all times? And I'll just tack on to that. What's one that you discovered that just like blew you away?
Yeah, I would say, okay, I think your favorite film can change by, your mood or the different things in your life. I've looked at past films differently, obviously, in the past 18 months too. But my ultimate test is, if you had to watch a movie on repeat for the rest of your life, like what would it be? So I would probably put that Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first Indiana Jones film. I mean, that's a film you can watch on repeat. It's just a solid adventure film. Spielberg in that era was phenomenal. I'm a huge Star Wars guy as well too, but I love a lot of the early classics as well. We have our senior programmer, Julia Ritchie, in our team, who actually she introduced a film on Turner Classic Movies. So we love a lot of older stuff too, but I think a favorite movie, I would probably just say, again, with that test, Raiders of the Lost Ark. But what makes a great movie is another question in the chat. I'll say this, a lot of submissions come in, and it's really easy off the bat to tell what makes a movie not good. I mean, if you watch a movie, you should be able to tell right away. You should be able to get lost into the film. I think through like the world that it's presented to you, the technical elements are the strongest thing within a film that you don't think of, and you shouldn't think about it. So is the sound good? If you can't hear anybody and you recognize, hey, that this guy has a microphone muffled under his shirt, it's probably going to take you out of the movie. So I think it just has to be a technically sound film. The story has to be good. If it's a subject that you've seen before, is it presented in a new way or an engaging way? Running time for a film, especially short films, a lot of people, programmers say shorter is better, 8 to 13 minutes. But if you are engrossed in a film, and it's timeless, and you don't even care how long the film is, the story is just washing you away, and you're just totally involved. That's what really matters to me too. And this sounds really cheesy, but these cinematic moments. So again, watching films and being an artistic director is subjective. I come with my own biases, things that I like, but I also try to be open. And because people have been coming to the festival for decades. So what kind of flavor do they like? What kind of genres do other people like? What might push the envelope? What's a film that definitely, even if I liked it, we're not playing that, that we kind of go through that too. But these cinematic moments where you're watching a film, you're totally into it, you almost forget where you are. And you can get goosebumps. You can get this feeling. And for me, it's like does it have this emotional resonance? Do I yearn immediately to want to share it with somebody and imagine it in a theater or with people? And I think those are kind of the things that hit me too. But it is that the world building and the commitment of the filmmaker, because filmmaking is not easy. So I mean, shots and scenes are filmed usually not in chronological order. Everything is set up economically to save with budget. So when you watch a finished project, like through the magic of editing and everything too, it's a miracle that the film, especially on an independent level, has come together in a really great tight package. So, so it's easy if maybe, we didn't get that scene or something too, and something's put in. But if a film is just fantastic from start to finish, the world, the story that they present in front of you, it just flows really well. Those are kind of the main things that I look for within a film. So that's kind of an overview of that.
Yeah. Are you able to still lose yourself in a film after like thinking about it so critically?
Oh, definitely. And I think that's what's neat too. It's not just the story, but I think film unlocks things even kind of in your subconscious when you're watching, especially like in a dark room and stuff too, where if I have creative projects or things that I'm working on, like I would love to develop a movie myself someday. But I've been in movie screenings at festivals and have gotten these kind of bubbles of inspiration, if you will, that pop up. So that's what I think, like movies can take you on this introspective journey as well, because they're meant to be this shared vehicle to explain things, whether they're happening in society, topics. Films can be cathartic for directors or writers who have experienced something traumatic, or even comedies that just something funny that makes you laugh. And I think I've noticed that over the years too, is that people are super serious about their comedy. Like we have jury members for comedy, and the existential discussions that we have with these jury members, like, well, what makes a comedy? Is it just the number of laughs? Is it can there be drama within that too? Is it the punchline? So I mean, that's kind of a funny thing too. It's almost, there's a lot of pressure picking that as
and
well.
Why has a comedy never won Best Picture?
Well, I think I don't think people take it seriously, to be quite honest. So I mean, I personally love comedies, but that's why also at Heartland, I haven't gotten over our full slate of prizes, but we instituted an award called the Humor and Humanity Award, because exactly for that reason, Michael. It's like we have not usually comedies and genre films don't get the big awards, because usually it's just,
yeah.
Again,
but
I think emotional resonance.
If you think about normal discourse, the lines that people repeat in public are generally comedies. Like all guys my age know every line in Caddyshack. We can repeat it at any time. Animal House, we know all those. Other movies, not so much. There may be one line from like The Good and the Bad and the Ugly or something, that you remember, or Dirty Harry, Make My Day, but not 20 lines, right?
Right.
So I always wondered why comedies get the shaft.
Yeah, I would put it this way too. I think, if you go to like Rotten Tomatoes, that's like a website where they have like the thermometer, and usually a lot of people use that as kind of like a standard, like, oh,
yeah, we use it.
If it has a low score, if it's rotten, I'm not going to look at it. But they have a critic score, and they have an audience score of who wants to watch it. And I think that's what it comes down to, like you were saying, Michael. There's a lot of movies I love. I love The Jerk. I love Dumb and Dumber. I love a lot of great comedies. They're not going to get any awards necessarily too. But that's the same thing. So we have audience choice awards, but we have the juried prize awards and stuff too. So yeah, again, I mean, they're eligible. They could win, but I think, it's nice to kind of elevate them and have their own cash prize category too. You kind of go from there. But but box office is important as well. And if a film so it's not quite comedy, but like Parasite won Best Picture a couple of years ago. And that's more of a thriller, almost not quite horror, but it's definitely more of an action thriller type film that traditionally does not win Best Picture. So I guess that there was a Korean language film. It was a thriller horror film. It had so many things against it that maybe within the next 5 years, Michael, who knows? It could be possible.
And it didn't have a happy ending, which,
no,
really, and it was a little, I think some people thought it was a little gory.
Right.
But that was unique. Yeah.
So if that one, there could be hope for a comedy. We'll see. See.
Greg, I know your schedule is packed. We really, truly appreciate you joining us today. All of these insights. The festival is still going on until when?
Yeah, Sunday. I'll be glad to really quick some big hits. We have The French Dispatch tonight, which is Wes Anderson's new movie. He is one of the best kind of auteur independent directors, and he has big names like Frances McDormand, Owen Wilson, Bill Murray. That's playing at Newfields. It's going to be a packed house. Tickets are still available. Again, we work with Netflix. Paolo Sorrentino, who won an Oscar years ago, has his new film. It might be the Italian entry for the Oscars, called The Hand of God. That's playing tonight at the Can Cinema. And then we have a film that just got picked up by Netflix called Procession. That's playing at living room theaters, and it's a documentary about Catholic abuse survivors who, in a unique and therapeutic kind of exercise, come together and make films about their experiences. So that's going to get some huge Oscar buzz too. But then tomorrow night we have The Power of the Dog from Jane Campion, who did The Piano, Oscar winner. That's going to be on Netflix, but it has Benedict Cumberbatch, Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons in that film. That's going to be an Oscar contender. But the big things are happening this weekend. I think if you haven't been to a film before, our anniversary gala film is going to be King Richard, the new film with Will Smith, where he plays Richard Williams, the dad of Serena and Venus. And I think we're like only the third or fourth festival in the world to play the film. There might be a surprise before the film. I'll put it that way. But basically it's a film I feel that embodies what Heartland has been the past 30 years, celebrating our anniversary and where we want to go. So a fantastic, fantastic movie. And that's playing Saturday night at Newfield. So yeah, a lot of great stuff, but you can peruse the website, heartlandfilmfestival.org. You can click the in-person schedule to look at if you want to go to a theater. You can look at virtual. And then for each film, you can look at if there's a trailer available. So you can kind of get a preview. Because I know if you're looking at unknown commodities, it's pretty good to have different tags, genres, a trailer or a preview and stuff too. So don't feel overwhelmed if you've never been. You can just see one movie. You don't have to buy a pass. You don't have to go, to absolutely everything. We'd love to see you even at one film. And so we appreciate your time. But we've seen that this year. Last parting remark, I ask everybody so far, raise your hand if this is your first movie in a theater since the pandemic, and about half the audience raises their hand. So yeah, I'm really excited. I feel, honored that people are coming back, and we're like some of the first films in this new different world. So yeah, we're really excited. But yeah, feel free to reach out. My email, I can put it in the chat, is gsorvig@heartlandfilm.org. And we'd be glad to answer any questions. Again, if you want to be a volunteer, you can go to heartlandfilm.org as well. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk to everybody. And yeah, sorry for being late today, but I've talked a lot, probably too much anyway. So
This was perfect. I so appreciate you taking the time out to do this. Hang out with us for just another minute or so.
Yeah.
As Greg put his email in the chat, Kelly's also been putting some incredible links in the chat. So before everybody logs off, make sure you peruse those and snag the ones that are meaningful to you. But I'll pass it back over to President Carol to close us out.
Thanks, Trina. And Greg, thank you. This was fascinating. I love going to the movies. And you basically described exactly how I feel when I see a movie that I love and one that I'm disappointed in. So this was so interesting. Thank you so much for taking the time to come talk to us, and best of luck in the future.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure it will be filled with wonderful successes.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see you again at the movies. But yeah, again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Oh, you will. And we're everybody who loves movies is so happy that we're getting close to coming back to the theaters and seeing the films that you have described and loved. We are going to be making a donation in your name to Freewheelin' Community Bikes. And that's an organization that connects youth with skills for life over a shared passion for biking. So when youth, as they say, one relationship at a time, they are transforming Indianapolis into a city where bikes provide access to better lives. And I love to bike, so that rings a real bell for me. And we will mail to you a certificate of appreciation for the time that you've spent with us. And thank you for doing that. Join us on Zoom next week. Author Ashley Petrie will be talking about her latest book entitled Indianapolis, an Illustrated Timeline. She was, by the way, on the news. So you will find all of our weekly meeting info on the website, indykiwanis.org. Have a great end of the week, everyone, and see you next week. And thanks again, Greg.
And thank you.
Thank you. Great job.